Poland's economic success story is no longer a secret. And on Poland Today, we tell the stories of people who have come to Poland and encouraged investment. I'm your host, David Kennedy. Today our guest is Barbara Stachowiak Kowalska MBE, one of the first promoters of British business and investment in Poland, and someone known well throughout the business community. She's also in the events business and is observing the international situation as it affects the hospitality business. Barbara, great to see you. Thanks very much for coming on Poland Today.
Delighted to be here, thank you.
Now, you've got an amazing story, essentially one of the pioneers of British business in the new Poland. And we've got an awful lot to talk about. So be ready to be thinking about those past moments. But of course, you're also now still very much involved in business in the events business.
That's correct, yes.
And bearing in mind what's happening on the international scene, we're all looking very carefully at how the events, for example, in the Middle East are affecting events here in Poland and people from Poland wanting to travel abroad. Are you already seeing that there's maybe an effect of this, or is it too early to say?
Oh no, certainly. I mean, I'm primarily looking after business travel, and not the travel, but the finding the meeting space and the group accommodation. So businesses are planning well in advance, or hopefully it should be. And so sadly, there have been many cancellations, events being postponed. Businesses are obviously looking for flexible terms in contracting. The current situation is regarded as force majeure, which means that the hotels have to be more flexible, and rather than cancellation, they may be hoping to postpone events. But certainly there has been a major impact on the current situation, and also concern about the future, concern about how long to postpone events for.
Of course, at the same time, it's maybe a little bit of overkill, isn't it, for people worried about coming to Poland, when of course Poland is very much distant from everything that is happening there. And, you know, people from the States would have absolutely no problem coming to Poland.
Oh yes, I mean, I think the impact on Poland is considerably less, but I'm thinking about outward travel, perhaps to all sorts of Middle Eastern destinations, which for years have been increasingly popular for both for leisure and for business. In terms of inward travel, at the moment, the impact seems to be minimal. Right. I've heard that, that Middle Eastern delegates are actually still coming to Poland, or say an event which was planned for in March is now, they're hoping to come this month. So I think people are cautiously optimistic. In
that regard, and maybe people who would have organised an event closer to the Middle East, or maybe thinking, well, maybe we should arrange it somewhere in Europe.
Oh, for sure, yes. I mean, Poland is increasingly popular. It's still very much a hidden gem. And in fact, there's Go to Warsaw ran an advertisement on international television channels, sort of trying to suggest that Poland is boring, the food's terrible, etc., etc. Obviously, the character in the movie is talking to probably his girlfriend, but the pictures demonstrate something completely different. So I think they're sort of playing on the fact that Poland, well, in this case it is Warsaw, but I think Poland as a whole has novelty value, is still not maybe the most, people haven't all, many people haven't been here.
Yes.
And so it has that, it still is potentially really attractive as a destination, both for leisure and for business. It's in the top 20 worldwide popular destinations, and I think 12th in Europe. So, yeah.
So it's getting there. But
yes.
Bearing in mind, where we came from, essentially.
Yes. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think it's like chalk and cheese, as we say in English. What Poland had to offer years ago and what it has now in terms of an attractive destination, either for business or for leisure, there's simply no comparison.
Which brings us, of course, back in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where does this story start for you? Does it actually start in Warsaw, or does it start in a small flat in Niesden right at the beginning of the 90s in terms of your cooperation with business in Poland?
Yes. Well, even further back, perhaps, if I just explain, I'm born and bred Londoner, Polish father, Irish mother. And I found I connected with some Polish expats who left Poland, during in the early 80s. And as such, then and also for business, I recognized the opportunity in '89, when Poland became a market economy, to establish an Anglo-Polish business group. And the first meeting was in my one-bedroom maisonette in Niesden. 18 people came, so that was quite a challenge. And the last meeting before I came to Poland in 1991 was in Posk, in the Polish Center in Hammersmith. 200 people came, and we had the guest speaker, Minister for Foreign Affairs, Olechowski. So that was, I think in those early days, I recognized the potential for British-Polish business developing. And so that was the beginning.
And it began to develop further. Now, I've got a picture here from the archives. I don't know if we can see this. Now, this guy here, I don't know if anybody knows who he is. That he must have been on an official visit to see Barbara.
Of course.
Tell me, what's the story of this picture, and who is that guy?
All right. Well, of course, when the picture was taken, it was Prince Charles, the Queen was abroad, and I was receiving an honour for British-Polish business interests. Yes,
That's the honour that you've got there?
It is, yes.
Which is?
It is
your
an
MBE?
MBE, which stands for a Member of the Order of the British Empire. So this photo was at Buckingham Palace in 2005, I think. So it's a long time ago.
Okay.
But it was because I was the first executive director of the British-Polish Chamber of Commerce, which began in '91 when I came to Poland. But I was offered the position in '92. And yes, and the rest is history. I mean, I felt I was on a mission uniting the two countries. I was in the conference and video business in the UK, so I was in communications, PR, and perhaps a good candidate for the job, which I enjoyed for 13 merry years.
And then you continued to be on the board for many years afterwards as well?
Yes, and I'm still connected. I'm an honorary member of the British Chamber. I'm on the board of the Irish Chamber. And there's a very effective group of chambers of commerce called the international group of chambers of commerce. There are 17 international bilateral chambers, and I also represent the Irish Chamber on that board. So we have lots of joint events in Poland.
Right.
And
So you've got 3 different nationalities: proud
Yes.
Polish, proud British, and proud Irish.
yes, that's right. Yes, 3 passports. Yes, of course, Brexit was a little bit of a disappointment, I think, to all of us, but that's history as well.
We've got our black passports now, and we're getting through that.
Okay.
But let's look back to the beginnings of business here in Poland. If you could think of, one example of how difficult things were, or maybe the kind of the gap between Britain and Poland in those days.
I remember, well, I can think of some sort of surprises, I suppose. Like, I remember it was really difficult to get a landline in the office. Yes, the office was myself and the lady, the sort of secretary who was there from the very beginning. She was getting married and going abroad in the first year. So I then recruited a couple more staff. But so staff was one thing, but actually getting a phone line was something very difficult. So the first mobile phone was actually not very mobile. It was like an enormous, like 2 or 3 bricks. It weighed a ton, and it was the size of like a shredder. So that was that was our mobile phone. But at least we had then had communication. And, and I remember also we did have a checkbook in the chamber, but very quickly, with all the reforms, and the banking sector especially sort of had what we call techno leap. So we had ATMs, that's like automatic teller machines, popping up all over the place. And somehow, perhaps I think Poland definitely was a cash sort of economy before, with the black market and with PEVEX shops and etc. And so instead of going we didn't really use the checks very much in Poland, but we went straight to credit cards.
Yes.
And so there were some advantages for Poland, I think. Then people very quickly adapted, and they were very enthusiastic about the changes.
Well, of course, so you're talking about that technical leap. It's a kind of a leapfrog in a way, because there were no landlines, then people got mobiles. And even now, the mobile network here in Poland, even compared to the UK or Germany, is actually an awful lot better.
Probably, no doubt. Yes, it's there's still. Poland really is, I think, recognized globally as being a very dynamic, forward-thinking, progressive economy. And even if we look at the history, I also remember a funny situation at the chamber when in 1995 there were presidential elections. We had some of the presidential candidates coming to visit us in the chamber with their CVs, because we already had communication. We had a magazine.
Right. Wait, 1995. So that was Lech Wałęsa and Kwaśniewski.
Well, yes, Kwaśniewski won, but there were many candidates
In the first round.
Yeah, and it was kind of amusing. It was lovely that they recognized the importance of the international exposure that the British Chamber might have given them. So,
okay, 95, was there not one candidate who was like a shoemaker or something.
Yeah, I can't remember now. In fact, I was having a look just for old time's sake at the coverage that we gave the elections. Yes, sadly, all those sort of, very ordinary but very enthusiastic candidates, they didn't feature in our magazine.
Right, of course. So that was an amazing time.
Yeah.
And business began to come to Poland at that time. Where there are some anxieties on behalf of business concerning the situation in Poland regarding the risk in coming over here?
I don't think maybe, okay, it wasn't perhaps an easy job to persuade all businesses to look at Poland because it's less so today, but Poland in those days wasn't very good at promoting itself and demonstrating the potential. I think for many people, and business people also are human and they are exposed to what they hear on television or read in newspapers. And I don't think there was recognition of the size of the market, that if they considered Poland, it was going to be, one country which would give them the potential of many of the now central, but in those days, Eastern European countries collectively, because of the size of the domestic market, and also the possibility of having a base in Poland and then, developing their businesses further east from a hub in Poland. So it was a mix. I think the chamber, of course, was always very international. We had many different nationalities, much the same as Britain itself. So it was predominantly British, and I think that was positive. I mean, in terms of the perception, because people sort of recognized that they could trust the British. But we were a multinational chamber and continue to be.
Well, that's a very interesting time. I came in 94. I think I kind of really started getting in touch with the British Chamber maybe about 96 or so. But being tricultural, is it easier for you to bridge that gap in mentality between the way that British people do things and Polish people do things? What would you say were the differences if you were thinking of cultural differences?
I think it's shrinking, I hope. I mean, we're all proud of our heritage and it's really nice to maintain some of that uniqueness to which any country can enjoy. But I think, there is, I think the British are still perhaps not as direct as Poles. I think the Irish and the Poles they feel closer, maybe culturally, because of religion and family and maybe agricultural heritage being important in both countries. And also with the EU, with Poland joining the EU, then so many Poles found their home in Ireland or in England as well. So I think that mix, I think it's far less evident today than perhaps in the early days.
Yes, of course. And if you were to think of a pivot point in Polish history, some point where things really changed, what do you think you could point to?
I mean, I suppose it would have to be the fall of the Iron Curtain at the beginning of the 1990s, because, that gave people hope and the freedom to travel, which, historically there was people did travel but it was all very organized. And I remember even my own cousin wanting to come to England, trying to get a visa. And we wrote letters, we enrolled him in an English class, etc. But he wasn't successful. So, the freedom that came with the changes to Poland at the beginning of at the end of the 80s, 89, I think was really a pivotal moment. And of course, EU accession.
And over that time, of course, with your work at that time, and you had the opportunity to meet a lot of politicians, but also some quite fascinating characters. If you could point to somebody who kind of is the personification of change and what has been positive in those times, who would you point to?
I think my dear friend of 30 years now, probably Stachowiak, who is an amazing character and sort of epitomizes also something that I think is increasingly popular in across the Western world for sure, and that is longevity. That people who have had a wonderful life continue to be really active.
Yes.
And he is definitely one of those people.
I love his story. I've met Stash on a few occasions and been to his restaurant, which is still going and which he's still operating.
Exactly.
And in his restaurant, there's also the story of how he actually left Poland and being hidden under coats in a train.
Yes, yeah. He has an amazing personal story, and I keep insisting that he must write his biography. But I think at 14 he was orphaned and spent time in an orphanage in Poland, escaped at the age of 19 with the help of British Cambridge students, went to England, to Scotland, to France and Canada, but he was, of course, a journalist with Radio Free Europe during that time. But when he came back to Poland and in Canada, he became a restaurateur. So, he is still every day in the afternoons in his restaurant, enchanting the visitors. And I think he epitomizes what in today's world is lacking with fake news, and I think lack of attention to detail, because as a former journalist, he's passionate about accurate reporting and independent, free reporting, freedom of speech, which, with the freedom of speech, we also get an awful lot of fake news. So it's very difficult to believe what you see, hear, read nowadays.
And he's very proud of his time in Scotland. And
yes.
I would say when you talk to him, then he even has a little bit of Scottish in that mix of his accent.
May well do. I mean, he has friends all over the world of every colour, creed, religion, sexual orientation. He is just, an amazing guy in his 90s who is still spreading, goodwill, I think.
Now, thinking about the Polish landscape and how things have changed, could you think of one town? I mean, everybody looks at Warsaw and sees how the skyline has changed, but a town outside Warsaw, which is maybe one of your favourites as a kind of an example of change?
Yes, I suppose it would have to be my father's home village, which is in Wielka Polska. It's called Fałkowo.
So West Poland, yeah.
Yes, and it's a small village. Even to this day, it is still small. It's, I think, the census, the latest record is from 5 years ago, so there'll be a new one coming out. But it's like 1,000 inhabitants.
And what makes it special?
Well, obviously because my father was born and bred there until the Second World War. But it's gone from a very, very quiet, maybe very insular environment into something that is now, I mean, they've got Facebook page, they've got Zumba classes, which I attended a couple of years ago. I remember when I was there last seeing a group of cyclists, so it's recycle bins, because I remember years ago, my family, it's country, so they were burning plastic, and I thought, oh God, that's terrible. So it's really changed, and now there's so much. And lots of the schools are all the language, the dominant language, of course, is English. Teachers had to retrain and very quickly embraced teaching English to the children, celebrating European Day.
Of course, because during communist times, people learned Russian.
They did, and before that, the older generation, of course, German, and the younger generation, Russian. So yes, it was a big challenge, I think, for educators to switch. But Poland is just a shining example of how quickly the population can adapt and embrace the opportunities for the future. If not, even my family, the older generation, recognized that it was hard, but they were doing it. They were very happy to see a brighter future for their family.
And if you were going to be thinking about maybe one characteristic of the Poles which makes them good business people?
Okay, I was going to say, well, I remember in the olden days, nie ma was a very popular phrase in shops. I think
they didn't have anything.
Yeah,
There's nothing
exactly,
here.
Nothing in the shops. But somehow the Poles managed. They were, I think, entrepreneurial from even during those hard times. So the entrepreneurial spirit of the Poles is still, was and continues to be.
Why were they entrepreneurial in those times?
Because
to get by?
Yeah, they had to. I mean, I remember, there was a black market here, but it was the only way that people could manage to trade and to exchange goods, all sorts of things, because they weren't available. So in the bad old days, although some people, of course, regret the demise of lots of facilities being free, like, school holidays and the like. But I think the overwhelming opinion is that Poland is, moving in the right direction and continues to develop and charm the world.
Any fears for the economy here?
No, I don't. Even if we think about the financial crisis of 2008, Poland was the shining star and, the only country that had positive GDP. Before that, we had, umpteen number of changes of government. And despite that, whatever persuasion the government was in power, we had, business progressing. So yes, I think the AI, of course, is a global potential concern certainly to, young employees, yes, and not just young, but So that is a challenge, but that's not a specific to Poland.
Okay, so there are always challenges, but
Yeah.
there are maybe opportunities as well.
For sure.
And in your own personal business, in the hospitality business, you have Poland as your base. Is that a good base for business?
For sure, it is. I mean, a lot of my work is international, and the way that the company operates, we have independent licensees all over the world in 60 plus countries, over 1,500 of us. But we are all entrepreneurs. We are not employed. We have to have experience in in hospitality to join the company. But certainly Poland is definitely, there are plans for Poland, and I encourage anyone who's looking at a change to think about hospitality because it's growing. Obviously we have the Middle Eastern situation, but let's hope that that's a temporary blip.
So it's growing, even though we had online, even though during COVID everybody just gathered by their screens?
Oh, for sure. Yes. I mean, I think everyone recognizes the need for humans to get together. So there is, all businesses, I think, now recognize that they must bring people together, at least a couple of times in the year
and
to
humans.
interact. Yes, of course.
We're not going to have a gathering of different AI programs talking to each other.
Yeah, well, let's hope not. But yes, I mean, another interesting trend in the hospitality business is even for business travel or business hospitality, business meetings, they need also some sort of team building element or experience. Wellness is popular, cooking experiences, handicrafts. Even with a lot of my events, we are also increasingly looking at added value, something other than the hard business content. Obviously, coffee breaks are important. This interaction with people is absolutely fundamental to the success of any business.
Well, Basia, this interaction has definitely added value to Poland today for both me and for our viewers. I'm sure that everybody will agree that Barbara Stachowiak Kowalska MBE's story has been an inspiration for us all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that's all we've got time for today on Poland Today. With me, David Kennedy. We'll be back with more guests. Keep watching online and subscribe, please, and show us you like us. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.